Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. We're here to provide you with that focused analysis, cutting through the noise to bring you the insights that really matter for your investment decisions. Today, we're zeroing in on just one company and its really crucial upcoming earnings report, Ondas Holdings. So if you're looking for a clear picture of what to watch for everything from their history to market sentiment, potential futures, you're absolutely in the right place.
Before we jump in, just a quick note to you, our listener. If you find value in these discussions, please remember to subscribe, maybe hit that like button and leave a comment. It really does help us out. And hey, if there's a specific company you'd like us to look into for a future session, just let us know in the comments below. We also really appreciate any support you might offer by buying us a coffee.
Yeah, it's really vital to be prepared when a company like Ondas is about to report, especially, given the current market climate. This particular earnings release, it's set for August 12th, 2025. That's before the market opens, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time specifically. Okay, August 12th. So let's dive right in. What are the market expectations for Ondas this quarter? What's the consensus saying?
Well, the analyst consensus, they're looking at an EPS that's earnings per share of -$11 for Q2 2025.
-11 cents, okay.
Right. And when it comes to revenue, there actually isn't an explicit consensus figure provided for this latest quarter, but we can look back. The last quarter's estimate was around $4.94 million. That gives us some context at least.
Got it. So no hard revenue number, but maybe around that 5 million mark as a reference. What about the whisper number? Do we hear anything there?
Good question. For Ondas Holdings, there isn't really a widely reported whisper number available right now. And interestingly, the consensus estimates haven't really budged much in recent days either.
Okay. So pretty stable expectations then.
Seems like it. And from the company itself, they haven't put out any explicit formal revenue or EPS guidance for Q2 2025. Not in their public sources anyway, although their previous report, it did mention ongoing R&D investments and expectations for sequential revenue growth, plus a continued focus on improving margins.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit more. How has Ondas actually performed historically when it comes to earnings? Do they tend to beat, miss?
Well, if we look at their track record, say the past 4 quarters, the trend is pretty clear. Ondas Holdings has a history of reporting negative EPS, and often with, regular small misses against the consensus.
Okay. So consistently negative and often falling a bit short.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like Q1 2025, their EPS was -$0.15. That missed the estimate of -$0.11. And looking back further, like Q4 2024, they tended to either miss or just barely meet consensus. There were several negative surprises over the prior year.
So with that history of misses, what does that usually mean for the stock price right after the report? Big drops. Or is it priced in?
That's the interesting part. The post-earnings price reactions, they've generally been, I'd say, muted to modestly negative after a miss. Typically, you see maybe small gaps down or just sideways trading, and reversals are actually quite common after those initial moves.
Reversals, huh?
Yeah, like after their last report, there was only a really minor drop. Certainly not enough to trigger any major momentum either way. It suggests the market kind of expects these slight misses.
Okay, so beyond the headline EPS number, what about other key financial trends? Revenue, margins.
Right. Well, revenues generally remained under what analysts were projecting. And we've also seen gross margins under pressure. That's largely due, as they mentioned, to increased R&D and operational investment.
Okay, that R&D spending.
Yeah, and operating losses have persisted. But management has highlighted these stabilization initiatives. They say they're focused on improving the quality of their revenue.
Quality of revenue. So focusing on more profitable deals, perhaps.
That seems to be the idea. Moving beyond just the numbers, let's think about the quarter itself. Was there any significant news? Any big deals or developments for Ondas?
That's a good point. What happened during Q2?
Well, interestingly, there haven't been any major commercial drone deals announced or any large customer news that really made waves for Ondas this past quarter. Now, they do have ongoing partnerships and pilot deployments, especially in private wireless and those autonomous drone solutions. That remains a focus, but nothing that materially moved the stock price recently.
So kind of quiet on the big news front. What about the bigger picture, the sector they're in, the macro environment? How's that impacting a company like Ondas?
Yeah, that's crucial context. The industrial wireless and drone sector, it's currently challenged. You're seeing slow enterprise adoption cycles.
Meaning companies are taking their time signing up.
Exactly. And constrained spending in some end markets too. Plus, you add on top of that higher interest rates and tighter access to capital. That's really contributed to a more risk-off sentiment,
Mm.
and that particularly affects these high-growth, early-stage tech businesses like Ondas.
Right, tough headwinds for a company still trying to scale up and reach profitability.
Definitely.
And how are analysts viewing the company right now, given all that? Any shifts in ratings or sentiment?
Analyst commentary, it's remained pretty neutral to cautious, obviously. We haven't seen any notable upgrades or downgrades in recent weeks. The consensus seems, well, wary of the margin pressure and the company's pace toward reaching break-even.
Okay, neutral to cautious. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, especially for traders. What has the stock itself been doing leading up to this earnings report?
Yeah, the technical picture is worth looking at. The stock has actually seen moderate gains heading into earnings. It was up over 9% in its last regular trading session, and then another 4% in after-hours trading. This was as of August 8th.
Wow, quite a run-up. What's driving that, do you think? Fundamentals or something else?
It suggests some speculative interest, definitely, but it's likely stemming more from, technically oversold conditions rather than any specific new fundamental development, kind of a bounce.
A technical bounce. Okay. Can you give us some key price levels on the chart to watch then? Support and resistance.
Absolutely. Key support level for Ondas is right around $3. That's a recent low, and it acts as a short-term technical floor.
$3. Got it.
And on the resistance side, the area to watch is roughly $3 and $84. Those levels represent recent session highs, and they also align with some previous earnings reaction highs, so a key zone to break through.
Okay. $3.80, $4 resistance. And what about implied volatility? Are the options markets expecting a big swing?
Yes, they are. Options are indeed implying a potentially large move for Ondas, which, frankly, is consistent with the stock's history. It often has these 10 to 15% swings post-earnings.
So volatility is expected.
Right. While we don't have the exact current market pricing specifics here, implied volatility is likely elevated, especially given those prior moves and the recent run-up in price we just talked about.
Okay, so putting this all together, what are the potential scenarios we could see after the report hits on the 12th? Let's start with the upside, the bullish case. What would that look like?
All right, the bullish case. That would probably involve a surprise beat on both revenue and showing significant sequential growth. That kind of result would really fuel speculation about maybe major client wins finally coming through, or maybe a faster adoption rate for their drone and wireless networks than expected.
So beating on the top line showing acceleration.
Exactly. And additionally, if management delivers materially improved margins or commentary about positive operating leverage, costs growing slower than revenue, that would be a strong positive signal too.
Makes sense. And on the flip side, the bearish reaction. What triggers that?
Well, the bearish scenario is pretty much the opposite. If revenue misses again, especially if it's coupled with another negative EPS surprise, we would also be looking for continued margin compression or any signs that order intake is slowing down.
So more of the same negative trends or worse?
Right. And a weak forward outlook would certainly contribute. If there's little evidence of demand picking up or no tangible path to profitability offered, that would likely lead to a negative reaction.
Okay, so lots of moving pieces there. But if you had to pick one thing, what's the single most important metric or factor for investors to really watch in this specific report?
It's interesting. Given everything, I'd say the forward guidance from management is likely to command the most attention, even more perhaps than the core Q2 numbers themselves.
Really, more than the actual results.
I think so, especially any updates they give on pipeline conversion, turning potential deals into actual contracts, or visibility into the timing of customer deals. That's going to be key for understanding the future potential, which is what investors are really focused on with a company like this.
That makes a lot of sense. It's all about the future path. Okay, so bringing it all together then, what's your overall leaning, your sentiment for Ondas heading into this report? Bullish, bearish, neutral?
I'd say we're leaning neutral, but perhaps slightly cautious. You have this stock that's technically quite heated coming into earnings, right? That run-up. But the underlying fundamentals, they still look challenged. And the company just has that spotty record of hitting estimates. So caution seems warranted.
Neutral to slightly cautious. Okay, if you had to put a number on it, scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you in any particular outcome? High conviction, low conviction?
Probably pretty low conviction, honestly. I'd give it maybe a 4 out of 10. Ondas' history of negative surprises, the lack of major catalysts this quarter, It just means conviction for a big upside move is low,
Mm-hmm.
even though paradoxically the potential for volatility itself could be quite high.
Right. High volatility, low directional conviction. So, for our listeners, then, what are some potential trading strategy considerations? What should they be thinking about?
Okay, well, for more risk-averse investors, the general recommendation might be to simply avoid holding onto shares through the earnings event.
Just stay on the sidelines.
Given the volatile history and the weak consensus, yeah, the risk might outweigh the potential reward for that group. Now, for more risk-tolerant traders, you could consider option strategies, things like straddles or strangles maybe, to play that high implied volatility we talked about.
Betting on a big move, but not necessarily the direction.
Exactly. Because there is potential for a double-digit move, even if the direction is uncertain. But the critical takeaway, really for either group, is probably to wait for confirmation, wait for clarity on margins, or that clear forward guidance. Because momentum with this stock tends to reverse quickly if management doesn't deliver a positive outlook. Don't just chase the initial reaction.
That's a really crucial point. It's not just about the numbers that just came out, but what the company signals about the road ahead.
Precisely. That forward look is paramount here.
Well, that brings us toward the end of our discussion on Ondas Holdings. It really is a prime example, isn't it? Why, looking beyond just the headline numbers, understanding the history, the sector, the guidance, it's all so vital.
Indeed it is. Getting into these intricate details, it can truly sharpen your perspective, help you make much more informed decisions. Doesn't matter if you're a long-term investor or more of a short-term trader.
You know, it makes you think about how much a company's past performance really predicts its future. Especially in a sector like this industrial wireless, drones, it's evolving so fast.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Can they break the pattern?
So something for you to mull over as Ondas Holdings reports next week. Thank you so much for joining us on Investing Talk Podcast. Remember to subscribe, like us, leave a comment if you enjoyed this analysis, and definitely let us know if there's a company you want us to cover. Your support truly helps us bring more of these insights to you. Until next time, stay informed.